was a 40-year-old stake president living in Fayetteville, Arkansas. In those days, we used to have regional conferences. Regional conferences involved a number of different stakes. There would always be a member of the First Presidency or the Quorum of the 12 Apostles presiding. And you would come together for a 4-hour priesthood leadership meeting on Saturday and a general session held in a very large venue on Sunday. We were having such a regional conference in Joplin, Missouri. Presiding at that conference was Elder Boyd K. Packer. Before the priesthood leadership meeting on Saturday, there was a luncheon to which all of the stake presidents were invited so that we could visit with President Packer, become acquainted, and tell him about the challenges and issues we were experiencing in our stakes. At the beginning of the lunch, Elder Packer invited each of us to introduce ourselves. So we went around the room and he got to me and I said, "My name is David Bednar, I live in Fayetteville, Arkansas," yada, yada, yada. And then I said, "And Elder Packer, I'm sure you won't remember this, but in 1972, I was a missionary in southern Germany. You were traveling from Berchtesgaden to Munich so that you could catch a plane to fly to Berlin to fulfill an assignment. Your plane was fogged in at the Munich airport, and then Elder Packer really very abruptly just cut me off. And he said, 'And President Bednar, do you remember that you and your companion came to the airport and picked my wife and I up? You took us to the mission home because President Peterson was away at a mission president seminar. Sister Packer found some cans of soup in the kitchen cabinets. She made the soup, we had some toast, we sat in the kitchen, we visited for a while. And then, because you could not get us on an airplane, you took us to the train station, got us on a midnight train, did the best accommodations you could find, and then you sent us on our way.'" And he said, "President Bednar, do you remember that?" I said, "Elder Packer, I remember picking you up at the airport. Let me tell you what I remember about that. I was working in the office, the phone rang. The call was directed to me. I said, 'Hello, this is Elder Bednar.' He said, 'Hello, this is Elder Packer.'" I'm thinking, we have 250 missionaries in our mission. Elder Packer, where's he? Elder Packer. And he said, "This is the Elder Packer from Salt Lake City." And I said, "Oh, that Elder Packer." He was the junior member of the Quorum of the 12, had been serving for 2 years. So my companion and I zipped out to the airport and went and picked him up. I said, "I remember picking you up. I remember we couldn't get you on a plane. I remember we took you to the train station." And Elder Packer, that's all I remember. He then proceeded to tell me this story. He said, "Do you remember that just as our train was about to leave the train station, that you gave me 20 marks?" I said, "I have absolutely no recollection of doing that." I said, "Are you sure I gave you 20 marks? That was a lot of money." He said, "You were concerned that traveling through the night on the train, we might get hungry, we would not have any German money, so you gave me 20 marks. I said, "I have no recollection of doing that." He said, "Well, our train travel to Berlin went very fine as long as we were in Western Germany. At that time, Germany was partitioned into 2 segments, the Western and the Eastern. Eastern was dominated by a communist government. When they reached the border and were going to go into Eastern Germany in a city called Hof, East German guards got onto the train and they began checking the passports of everybody on the train. Elder Packer's passport was fine. Sister Packer's passport was a 3-year passport that had been extended to be a 5-year passport. And the East German government was not accepting 3-year passports that had been extended. Elder Packer could not speak German. The guard could not speak English. If you listen to Elder Packer now describe that man, he would say he was one of the surliest, grumpiest, darkest, and most evil men he's met. He said, it frankly was escalating in this confrontation to the point that I thought it was going to have a very unhappy ending. He said they refused to acknowledge my wife's passport, and I didn't know what to do. He said, I then reached into my pocket. I found the 20 marks that you had given me. I took it out. I put it into my passport. Took my passport, Sister Packer's passport, gave it to the guard. He left. He came back. The 20 marks was gone, and we were permitted to go on and travel through Eastern Germany. That's not a bribe. It's called righteous exchange. When Elder Packer got to Berlin, he was greeted by a priesthood leader who was serving in the United States government. I don't know if it was in the FBI or some other branch, but he knew some things about what was taking place in Eastern Germany. After having been picked up at the train station riding in the car, Elder Packer rather nonchalantly explained what had happened at the border crossing in Eastern Germany. This priesthood leader who worked for the U.S. government really became rather pale and said, Elder Packer, I cannot explain how you were able to get through Eastern Germany with your wife's passport. And Elder Packer said, well, what do you mean? He said, the East German government for the past several months has been making quite an issue out of people with those 3-year extended to 5-year passports. And they have been taking people off of the train in Eastern Germany. Only then did Elder Packer realize how serious that situation had been. He said, I could see this man trying to escort my wife off the train. I would not have allowed that to happen. And then he began to realize the severity of the situation in which he had been placed. Now, a number of years later, now I had no idea any of that had taken place until 20 years later, 1992, when I was a 40-year-old stake president participating in a regional conference at which Elder Packer was presiding. President Packer of the Quorum of the 12 came to BYU, Idaho when I was the president there, and he gave a talk. He called it the 20-mark note. And he detailed this episode from his experience and his point of view. And as he taught this principle, I will never forget both what he said and how he said it. He said, everything you need to know about living the gospel and responding to the impressions of the Holy Ghost is evidenced in a 20-year-old missionary handing me that 20-mark note and having no idea why he was doing it. He said, if you'll learn that lesson, you'll live the gospel, you'll rear your family, they'll respond to your teachings, and you will find happiness in mortality. You gotta let that sink in. I had no idea why I was giving him the 20 marks. I gave him the 20 marks because I thought they would be hungry. In retrospect, with the advantage of hindsight in 20 years, was that a spiritual impression to give him 20 marks? Yes. Was it a prompting from the Holy Ghost? Absolutely. Did God see the beginning from the end and know that this member of the Quorum of the 12 needed that assistance? Yes. And I was there in the right place at the right time. I was really trying to be a good boy. I was trying to honor my covenants and keep my commandments and do my very best. I did not receive an email or a text message from Moroni saying, give him 20 marks because he's going to need it at the border in Hull. I didn't hear a bugle. I could not have told you in the moment that it was a spiritual impression. Somehow, some way, in the culture of the church, not in the doctrine, but in the culture of the church, we have come to believe that I must know in the moment that it's a spiritual impression, that I must receive the spiritual impression so that it will guide me and tell me what to do. And that unless I receive such an impression, I cannot go forward because I won't know what to do. Now, elders and sisters, every once in a while, Rarely. You will receive an impression that will guide you, and you will know it before the fact. The overwhelming majority of the impressions and revelations you will ever receive will come in the course of you being a good boy or a good girl, honoring your covenants, keeping your commandments, and you will become an instrument in the hands of God, and He will take you where you need to be so you can do what He wants you to do, and much of the time you'll never know that it's happening